What's up guys, Eric here, and today I am going to be adjusting the travel in my Fox 36 fork that's on my Foes. The reason I'm doing this is when I ride my Foes I feel like I'm being really pitched forward, not so much completely over the bars, but a little farther forward than I am comfortable with. I rode a downhill bike for everything for a long time. And I think I got really used to having a lot of travel in the front and a very slack geometry with my bike, and it actually makes me kind of uncomfortable going down even a moderate downhill. So I've been told by the good folks over at Foes that I can indeed go to a 180 fork on my FXR, so that's exactly what I'm going to do today. So I went and bought the air shaft assembly for the 36. And I really like the way that Fox allows for this, because this part was $50 and my fork is only about a year old, and why spend $1,000 on another fork and then have to go through the mumbo jumbo of selling an old fork? And even though I would get a lot of that money back, it's still laying out hundreds of dollars. I could just spend $50 in an afternoon of my time and go ahead and swap this out. So what we need to do this is the air shaft, of course, which comes with the C-clip. And there will be a C-clip on the inside of the original air shaft, or on the bottom of the stanchion. But I'm also going to need some slick honey. I'm also going to need regular grease to when I put everything back together. After I re-grease my headset bearings and stuff while I'm at it. Also, while I'm at it, I'm just going to do a lower leg service, which I need the seal kit for. And so the different tools I'm going to need will be the seal driver. And by the way, if you don't have one of these and you intend on doing any kind of forks, even just basic lower leg services from time to time, it is well worth buying one of these. I think this maybe $30 I think it was for this, but I've had it for a while. I also have one for the 40. It makes life so much easier. Why kill yourself trying to use a piece of PVC pipe that's not quite the right size, and you beat up your lowers, you ruin the brand new seals you're trying to put in. Just use the right tool. I had another video that I did some months back where I had actually just got my driver tool for the 40. Well worth it. I also need a small screwdriver for pulling out the C-clip. Need a shock pump. And also the driver tools to remove the shaft assemblies. Again, a couple of tools that are well worth it. I mean, a little bit of money. I think these were maybe 30 or 40 bucks each. So, but you have them for a lifetime. Go ahead and buy them. First time I tried servicing a fork, I did the old trick of turning the nut around or putting the socket on it and hitting it with the hammer. All I did was ruin my shaft assemblies. So mallet, and people have said it time and time again, use a rubber mallet. Don't use a hammer, even if you are using the proper tools. Otherwise, just get a mallet. Again, these things cost $10 at a hardware store. You'll also need some 20 weight gold oil. And I just use a syringe and just, I kind of pour some into this jar and then draw the amount I need into the syringe. That's pretty much it for what I need to get started. Oh, coffee. Gotta have coffee. All right. All right. So another reason that I'm doing this is last time I was out riding, I had to make a couple of adjustments to my rebound. I noticed I was actually leaking a little bit of oil when I took my protective cover off here. So my crush washer is probably didn't seat all the way last time I did the service, so I figured since I'm taking it apart anyway, might as well go ahead and do a full-on service here. So I'm gonna start by taking off the rebound knob, and it's a 2mm Allen key, and the only 2mm I have is on this fold-out tool here. So I take that off, and this foot nut here is a 15mm socket. Go ahead and take this off. Shouldn't require a whole lot of, it was pretty loose. So I don't know if it worked its way loose or if I just simply didn't put it on tightly enough. Foot nut on the air shaft side is a 10mm. Bust that off. Again, it doesn't take a whole lot of force. Put that aside for safekeeping. Sometimes the crush washer stays in place. I've always kind of a little bit paranoid when I crank these down, because I'm always afraid that I'm going to go too hard with them and damage the threads. I mean, this is aluminum here, and it's pretty easy to damage these threads. So I always go really gingerly, and this is proof here. I really did not crush this crush washer, so I probably can reuse this. So I'm going to set that aside. Now, the fun part. Get to use our shaft drivers here. Thread those on. Now remember, you don't want to thread these on all the way. You got to give them a little bit of room to work. So when you whack them with the hammer, it has enough throw to push the shaft in and dislodge it from the inside of the lower. So remember, it's two different sizes. Take your mallet. I'm right-handed, you know. There's one. And there's the other. Alright. Take these off. I'm going to keep this handy because it's going to be really easy to help pull out the old air shaft. Alright, so I'm going to swing this down, dump all the oil out. I got an oil pan down here that's off camera. First off, one thing I think is really funny. When you live in California, everything gives you cancer, including your fork seals. See that? Fork seals can give you cancer, so probably going to die a horrible, horrible death from handling these things. But I'll have a fun riding bike between now and then. Anyway, this is a pretty cool idea that I saw. I was watching a similar video to this. Mike from Mr. Lost Bike Shop was actually doing a similar job. He was actually shortening a fork and then putting in the Grip 2 damper in a 36. And one thing that he did I thought was a fantastic idea is he cut open the package nice and neat. Alright, now first off, make sure that everything is down at the bottom so you don't cut into seals or foam rings or anything like that. And, oops, yeah, nice and neat, right? And leaving, just not ripping the bag apart, but leaving the bag mostly intact. Putting aside all the parts, but then taking the foam rings, putting them back into the package, and then throwing a little bit of oil into the bag with the rings. Look at that. I probably put more than I need to, but that'll work. Okay, so then what you can do is you can kind of like, because they're foam, they're like a sponge obviously, you can just kind of squish them a little bit and help them really soak up all that oil so they're really, really well saturated, so when you put them into your fork later, they do their job a whole lot better rather than just trying to being kind of like half dry, which is kind of the way things always happen for me, because I would do this by taking my foam rings out and putting them in a jar here and letting them soak while I would be cleaning up my lowers and that sort of thing. But I don't know why I never thought of this plastic baggie idea, but Mike from Mr. Lost, fantastic idea. Thank you. You can even kind of see, like, well, probably not, but there's all like little bubbles and stuff, so you squeeze all the air out. You can put like a little spring clip or a paper clip, or just put it someplace safe where it won't spill. Alright, so I got the lowers dropped and set aside. I got obviously all the oil is drained out. And I bled all the air out of the air chamber here. So one thing you want to do, you want to make sure all the air is out. I cycled the shaft a couple of times while pushing down on the Schrader valve with a screwdriver, and just to make sure all the air is out, because obviously when you go and take that C-clip out and you go to pull this thing out, it could blow up in your face, which would obviously not be cool. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take this top cap off, which has the, right now I have one token in here. And you probably have all heard this before. When you do this, you want to use a chamferless socket. This is the 32 to go on top of this fork. I went ahead and got the sockets from Park Tool. I know a lot of people will go and just take a standard socket set and grind it down flat. That's an option. Either way, you want to use the right tool, because this is really soft aluminum here, and you could round it off and just make life a nightmare for yourself. So go make sure you have the flat socket. So go ahead, take this off. There we have it. Now we can go ahead and pull out the air shaft. Alright, so right up in there is the C-clip that I need to pull out. So just got to undo that, and the whole air shaft should come right out. Alright, so I'm going to take my driver tool, thread it on here. I can use that to go ahead and pull the air shaft right out. That was easy. Looks like I shot an alien on my garage floor here. Like a scene from the X-Files. Alright, so here's the two air shafts. Obviously this is the one I just pulled out, and this is the new one, so you can see the difference between the two. Obviously this one's 20 mils longer, and here's the C-clip that I pulled out. It actually doesn't look bad, but I got a brand new one, so I might as well just go ahead and put that in. The reason why all that float fluid came out is I thought I had to use float fluid to lubricate my fork, but it's actually Slick Honey. Doesn't really seem to be any worse for wear, but now that I have the proper stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and use that. So, all right, in with the new air shaft. Coax that in. And I'm going to put in the new C-clip. Should be careful with this and try not to scratch anything. Alright, so that's about as simple as it gets to put in a new air shaft. So yeah, pop the C-clip out, pull out the old air shaft, lubricate the new one with some Slick Honey, and put it back in, put the C-clip back in, and there you have it. So I'm going to go ahead and reassemble and put it back on the bike and see how it feels. Alright, so I've got the fork reinstalled after putting it all back together. Took a couple spins around the yard, and I like the way it makes the bike feel. It definitely makes it feel more like a downhill bike, which is what I really was looking for. I just kind of put in the same air pressure. I still just running just one token on the air side. The feel of it is good. One thing that concerns me though, it is making a little bit of a clunk when it's at full extension. It's not bad, it's very subtle. At first it was actually pretty harsh, so I actually cracked the foot nuts a little bit to kind of see which side was doing the clunk. It's most likely coming from the damper side. It does concern me a little bit. I went back and looked through my the information. I went on the Fox website. It said I should have 40 cc's on the damper side, so I went and put a little bit more oil, and that helped. And I also put a little bit of oil in the air chamber, the upper air chamber of the air side, so that seemed to really quiet it down. But it's still there. It's mostly like when I just pick up the front end, when I kind of like just do like a little bit of a bunny hop, it doesn't do it. Like, it doesn't extend fast enough. So I guess my rebound is slow enough, but it's there. So it's something I'm just gonna kind of keep an eye on. If it keeps on giving me trouble, then I'll take it to my tech and have him look at it, or maybe just simply send it back out to Fox. Maybe even eventually just go to the Grip 2 damper, which hopefully would solve all of that problem. I might just do that again eventually anyway, just to have an upgraded damper system. But I'm going to give it a try as it is, see how it feels. I'm going to take it out for a ride tomorrow and see how it goes. And hopefully this gets me a little bit closer to what I'm looking for in this bike. So be looking out for a video on that. Alright, until next time, keep it full throttle.